Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Man, have I got a zinger for you today. Do you remember, I talked about this at my cancer presentations, I talk about it online. In 2013, 27 patients who were diagnosed with lung cancer by clinical, exam and radiologic exam, so x-rays, yada, yada. All 27 didn't have lung cancer at all. All 27 went on antifungals, and all 27 got better. Folks, I think we are hyper-diagnosing any lump as cancer, and we need to stop doing that. Here's an interesting one, an opening. This is, the journal is called Diagnostic Cytopathology. Cyto is cell, right? Myco is fungus. What they did, these 3 women were diagnosed with breast masses that were called breast cancer, carcinoma, right? Well, they decided to go in with a fine needle aspiration, a little tiny needle, maybe 26, 28 gauge, and they go up into the lump and they aspirate a little bit of the tissue, just a little bit, and they grow it out in a culture, and you know what all 3 women had? 2 of them they talk about in this report. This is 20 years ago. 2 of them had blastomycosis, a fungal infection, and they were put on antifungal medications. I don't know what happened to the 3rd one, they never reported it. But all 3, the lumps weren't breast cancer at all. The lumps were breast fungus. I just gotta wonder, as we welcome you to the show today, how many other men and women are being erroneously diagnosed with cancer? Your thoughts? Welcome. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. And now, in continuing with the opening of the show, what's in a lump? So you heard about these 3 women who had fine needle aspiration done on a lump in their breast, and as it turns out, all 3 had fungus in that lump, okay? So we don't do these tests routinely. Women, when they feel a lump in their breast, never get this culture out of fungus. I would ask for it if I had a lump in my breast, but that's not a test that women would know about, nor the doctors would order ordinarily. So a little bit of my history. In 1987, Dr. David Weekley, a Johns Hopkins physician, caught on to my work. He read a book I wrote in 1983 or 84, and he challenged me. I said, I think skin problems are much deeper than just skin. I think they go all the way to the inside of the body, and toxins come out on the skin, and then we diagnose skin diseases. What if we got rid of these toxins, right? Dr. Weekley was a great guy. He eventually, after a year of coming to Los Angeles, in 1987, he brought me here to Texas, and I worked in his clinic, which was a skin clinic, and he had several other great doctors there. Big dermatology practice. And this book caught my eye. It was one of his medical textbooks. It's Clinical and Immunologic Aspects of Fungal Diseases. Look at that book. It cost him $6.75 at Johns Hopkins, where he went to medical school, and I have just torn this book apart. There's so many pearls in this book. For example, let's get started here. Let's continue on that opening theme of what's in a lump. I got this question, a real question from Karen. Doug, I have a lump that through the years has grown. It's on my back and therefore hard to keep an eye on, but in the shower I've noticed that it has grown. What would you recommend? Thank you, Karen. I have a lump. Folks, a lump can be just a bolus of fat, right? A fatty lump, or it can be as severe as late-stage cancer, metastasizing through the body. So let's first go into this medical textbook. In this book, circa 1957, Johns Hopkins Medical School had this as a medical textbook. We see some interesting facts. Confusion abounds in 1957. Here's the book, Clinical and Immunological Aspects of Fungal Diseases, and on page 11 it says pulmonary or lung coccidioidomycosis is suggestive of lung cancer. On page 115, localized skin cutaneous blastomycosis, that's another fungus, is frequently mistaken for squamous cell carcinoma. Wonder how many of you have had those things burned off your ear or your nose, little skin cancers they're called, when in fact it could be you've been exposed to blasto, which is a fungus. The next one is this. Page 153, disseminated histoplasmosis, this is a fungus, is found to coexist with leukemia, lymphosarcoma, sarcoidosis, and Hodgkin's disease much more frequently than is statistically justified based on coincidence. So they're saying this is really weird. We're seeing leukemia and other kinds of cancers very often when we see this disseminated histoplasmosis. Histoplasmosis can be inhaled from dust, dirt, bird droppings, and so forth, and it grows throughout our system very quickly because the lungs are very vascular. So it ends up in weird areas in our body and sometimes on our skin, and they're just saying, you know what? All these people that we're diagnosing with leukemia also have this fungus in their bloodstream. Couldn't be, could it? And this is 1957. Okay, and finally, page 175, disseminated, that means it's gone through the body. Cryptococcosis, that's another fungus, that's a disease caused by a fungus, closely simulates neoplasm or new tumor formation. So the jury is really out on these things, folks. We don't really know if it's cancer or if it's a harmless fungal lump. But look at this, some important characteristics of fungi. Fungi are eukaryotic organisms, meaning they have a cell nucleus complete with DNA, just like our cells. They also have a cell wall similar to a plant cell, and they thrive in a sac formation. So when we get back, what I'd like to do is continue this theme. I want to educate you on the similarities we see. Folks, today we walk into a doctor's office, he feels a lump and boom, get to my friend, you got to have that lump taken out, you got to have a biopsy done, and we're not going to test for fungus, but we're going to get started on chemotherapy because man, this could be horrible. And I understand that. I understand it. What I don't understand is, wait a minute, doc, that's been with me for 11 years. Why all of a sudden in 3 days do I have to get chemotherapy? Slow down, smell the roses, and consider that maybe all what we're calling cancer isn't cancer. Okay, Doug, then what else could it be? Stay tuned.
My name is Olivia. I had precancer cells, dysplasia, and then I also had signs of carcinoma on my cervix. And when they found that, they also found a yeast overgrowth. And they told me that I had HPV virus and that I was supposed to be getting surgery to have it either removed or a total hysterectomy. But they were going to do further testing. So they did more testing. There's still nothing that they could do. And they said that we're just going to have to remove it. There's nothing I can change with my diet. And then I saw Doug Kaufman's TV show. And I did the phase 1 diet. And I alkalized my body, cut out sugar, cut out dairy, gluten, soy. And I came back 6 months later, and the cancer cells are gone. Completely gone. I don't have any more yeast problems. I'm not tired. I mean, it's just when you heal your body, you don't just heal one thing, you heal everything. And I mean, I'm going to stick to this diet. I just quit my job. I'm actually going to school for nutrition.
So happy every time I see Kristen Cons now. There is a glow about her that, well, I guess was always there, but with Emma Jane, you radiate. You really do.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Kristen has a new baby girl who's 6 months old, and wow, what a beauty. Phase 1 diet, you guys watching this show know is a diet that starves fungus. Along comes a very popular diet, out popularizing the Phase 1 diet, because we kind of stay quiet about this, which is called the gluten diet. So tell us a little about this.
So I think a lot of people start off with the gluten-free diet, and they feel better initially because they're taking a lot out of a lot of the grains and things like that. And they're starting to eat a little better. But then down the road, they're having to take dairy out. They're having to take other ingredients out of their diet and feel like they can't eat anything because they're not dealing with what the root issue is, which, as you've taught us, is fungus, and it's eating away at our intestines and causing leaky gut and all of that stuff. And so the added corn and sugar in the gluten-free diet is really a problem. And they're going to the processed foods. You know, they're trying to look for gluten-free cakes and, you know, all of the junk food. And so it's really changing to more of a whole food phase 1 diet.
So, you know, you can't walk into a restaurant anymore that they don't offer you. Sometimes at extra charge. I notice our little restaurant here, we can make that pasta gluten-free. You know, it's corn pasta then. So sugar is gluten-free. corn is gluten-free. So I like what you're saying, Kristen. That is, people start on a gluten-free diet, they're taking wheat out, commonly impregnated with fungal metabolites, fungal poisons, and they're feeling better. Then they're eating corn and sugar, because that's okay on the gluten diet, and all of a sudden they start to feel bad again. They got halfway there with the gluten diet.
They did. You really have to heal up that gut, and that's what the phase 1 diet does. It starves the fungus, it kills the fungus, it repairs what is really causing the issues, and you can add in a lot more food, so it's a good option.
We had someone, I've lectured the past few weeks, and we had a woman come up to us and say, you know why I love what you're teaching on TV? Because no other diet gives you a reason for the diet. Well, why should we go off gluten? Well, because you don't feel good when you eat it. Why do you follow this diet, the caveman diet? Well, you follow it because a caveman did it, zillions of years ago. Why do you follow your diet? You starve the fungus that's growing in your body. The fungus needs to be killed and starved. You are my go-to food person. So there are foods that can starve fungus.
Absolutely. It's the spices, it's the apples, the meats, the nuts, the seeds, fish. I mean, endless possibilities.
God made no mistake.
Yes,
I mean,
he
it's so
no mistake.
He didn't have to, man does. He put us here to make all the mistakes, but it's fascinating how such a difference exists between this gluten-free diet and the phase 1 diet.
Yes.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you for coming
Thanks.
in.
Are you looking for a way to increase your energy level? Exercise is actually a great way to do just that. It promotes better sleep quality, which provides you with more energy the day after you exercise. During physical activity, more blood gets to your brain, which means more oxygen is then absorbed by the brain. This increases mental awareness and energy levels. Many think of exercise as a key to weight loss. But the fact of the matter is, without proper diet and nutrition, exercise primarily helps to maintain weight, not lose it. Weight loss occurs when you're burning more calories than you're taking in. Physical activity also contributes to a better sense of well-being. We know that. Exercise causes chemical changes in your brain, which leads to increased self-esteem and self-control, and enables you to even have more self-confidence. Exercise helps build a better you.
So many times a patient will come in with multiple complaints, whether it's diabetes, allergies, insomnia, IBS, or even high blood pressure. I will always start with the same statement: tell me what your diet looks like. While the health problems you may be having may not look the same on the outside, the root of their cause is usually the same. Far too many of us are deficient in the basic essential nutrients our body needs, not just to live, but to prevent disease. And to make matters worse, many of the most commonly eaten foods steal what little nutrients you can get from your diet. So what do? Simple. Eat lots of lean meats, fish, vegetables, and fruits, coupled with the best and healthiest fat, macadamia nut oil. Most of us wouldn't recognize real foods if they were placed in front of us, so keep it simple. Cut out sugar and simple carbohydrates. This one step will help keep you healthy for the long haul. I'm Dr. Fred Pescatore for Know the Cause.
So Kyle, thank you so much for coming in today. Fermented foods, do you like them or not?
I think it's a double-edged sword, Doug. I mean, there are some that I love, there are some that I don't like. I love the yogurts of the world. Mostly these are fermented with good guy bacteria. There are other products that are fermented with yeasts and molds.
Yike.
And it's been done for thousands of years, and if you didn't have refrigeration, thank goodness for fermentation. That's the only way that you could survive during the winter season, for example. But today we realize that there are certain things that molds and yeast produce. For example, you've got molds and yeasts that usually ferment sugars and produce things like alcohol, acetaldehyde, and a number of chemicals that you've never heard of that are not that great for you. One of them is a known carcinogen, actually two now. Bacteria tend to ferment sugar and create organic acids, lactic acid, for example. That's where the word acidophilus comes from, acid-loving, acid-philo. That means acid-loving. And so you've got a range of things to consider when you're looking at fermented foods. The truth of the matter is, I stay away from everything that's fermented with yeast and mold, and I run to things that are fermented with good guy bacteria.
So you really need to be a prudent consumer. You need to ask, find out how that product was made.
Exactly.
Good information. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Do you want an effective, non-toxic way to get rid of mildew from your shower? Try making this natural antifungal cleanser. You'll need 2 cups baking soda, a few drops of peppermint essential oil, and a little water to moisten the mixture. Scrub it on your shower and then rinse. This not only kills mildew, it'll leave your shower smelling a lot nicer and fresher than strong bleach.
And there it is, know the cause. Welcome aboard, folks. Thank you for joining us today. Karen asked a question. Doug, I have a lump on my back that I notice in the shower, because you don't normally look at your back, has gotten larger and larger through the years. What would you do? And I'm responding from a 1957 medical textbook that said confusion abounds. We don't know whether it's fungus or whether it's cancer. And this is 1957. Older medical textbooks were kind of simplistic and kind of honest. You know, we don't know what this stuff is. We've diagnosed fungus, but yet it looks, for all intents and purposes, like cancer. Okay? There's a sentence in this book that I thought was so great in the opening. It's profoundly significant that no fungus diseases reaches serious proportions or lasts for any considerable amount of time unless it involves a person who is abnormal. Man, is that wrong technically? Abnormal in 1957, it was politically incorrect. Abnormal in 1957 was immunocompromised. Unless it involves a person who is on chemotherapy, very, very sick. Today we have AIDS and people are very, very sick with that. So unless you're breathing in a fungus and have one of these conditions where your immune system is just shot, it isn't really that dangerous. Or is it? If it's mimicking cancer, then it is a problem. So here was my response to Karen, who asked that question. Cancer can be in a lump form. Karen, first rule out that this is anything other than a simple benign lump. Get to your doctor and get to a doctor you trust. Show him or her the lump. Maybe they can do a fine needle aspiration, grow it out on a culture disc, and see if in fact, or on a culture medium, and see if in fact it's fungus. That might be what I would do. Understand this, cancer is a malignant and invasive growth or tumor, or the 4th sign of the zodiac. I had to throw that in to see if you were awake. A lump is a benign protuberance or swelling. So a lump is normally harmless unless it is cancer. Now let's delve into this ascomycete sac fungus, okay? Fungi collect, now you know they're like human cells. Well, they can collect in a tight rubbery sac, and they wall themselves out of our immune system, right? So our white blood cells can't get in there and gobble them up, and they grow and they live and they reproduce in this sac. The dictionary defines an ascomycete as a sac fungi. Their spores can survive intact for indefinite periods of time, just in a sac-like structure. Now, let's go into this. What are some of the similarities between cancer and fungus? Both can metabolize nutrients in the absence of oxygen. And Karen, let me tell you what that means. That means each time you get in the shower and you feel that little lump through the months or years, it's gotten a little larger and a little larger. They can grow, cancer tumor can grow in a sac, unchecked without oxygen. It can get bigger and bigger. And so can a fungal sac. Without oxygen, it can get bigger and bigger. So which is it? Both thrive on sugar. So a lot of times people with either an ascomycete or a tumor, cancer tumor, realize they're starving for sugar. Both die when deprived of sugar. Both die when deprived of sugar. So do you think all the information we're getting today from many nutritional organizations that, have a little sugar, it's not going to hurt your cancer, you think that's accurate? Both produce a corrosive poison called lactic acid. Cancer cells, cancer tumors produce this, and so do fungal sacs. Both respond to antifungal medicines. Man, there are so many similarities, and here's the problem, folks. Today, doctors don't check. You saw the opening of the show, right? 3 women had fine needle aspiration. Aha, this isn't breast cancer. This is breast fungus. You see in some of my write-ups, the paper we wrote late last year, that 27 people diagnosed with lung cancer, they did these further studies, and all 27, in fact, had lung fungus. All 27 got over their cancer when they took antifungal drugs. So understand that just by saying you have cancer, there are you need to get other opinions. But you need to find someone who's open-minded to this kind of stuff. And then you need to ask yourself this question. Yeah, that's right. That lump grew when I took lots of antibiotics. Or when I moved into that moldy home. That lump was nothing, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Have you been exposed to mold? Finally, this, anti-cancer or antifungal, the foods that are recommended for cancer prevention, just also happen to have strong antifungal properties. So is fungus being called cancer? I know that sounds bizarre, folks, but stick with me here at Know the Cause. I think I'm the only person in the U.S. teaching this right now. Get to a competent doctor, find an alternative competent doctor also that can kind of march you down the aisle when confusion exists. It did in 1957. Trust me, it does today. Don't go away.
I've learned a lot from watching Doug's show, and that is read, study, look up things, and question everything you've heard so far. I had a bad earache for over a year that was treated with several different kinds of antibiotics, all the way from gram-positive, gram-negative antibiotics, urinary tract antibiotics, tetracyclines, penicillin, augmentin, you name it. Never got better. I saw on Doug's show, he mentioned something about a lot of things like sinus infection and earaches are caused by fungus. So I got a prescription for some diflucan antifungal, took it for 2 weeks, and was cured. So the idea is there's something out there that might help you. Just keep looking.
All right, so you need some supplement suggestions. That's great by me, as long as you know diet comes first. Phase 1 diet is foundational for everything that we talk about here. Also, we are not doctors. We are not diagnosing or prescribing anything. This is for your own research. First question, I need a supplement suggestion for sinus problems. Okay, first start with what the deal is with sinuses. There was a study that came out in 9/9 of 99 from the Mayo Clinic, which said that virtually all upper sinus issues are related not to bacteria, not to viruses. That's right, fungus. Fungus is the cause, according to the Mayo Clinic, of most sinus issues. So if we are going to get in the phase 1 mode of things, we are already going to help sinus issues. But what about supplements? Well, there's a few things I wanted to show you. First of all, let's take a look at this. We'll come back in a minute. Sinus Buster is an interesting nasal spray. I talked about this earlier for headaches. Sinus Buster is cayenne based, cayenne pepper. It will really blow things out. You know what I'm talking about. It's great. Very antifungal as well. Olive leaf extract. There's Seagate. This one's bioactive nutrients. I like them both. Very, very nice for this. Also dealing with the fungus. And of course, good old garlic. If you're going to eat raw garlic, make sure and chew it. I know that's repugnant for a lot of people. If it's too repugnant, go ahead and get a supplement. But I really like garlic as an antifungal. And if your sinus is related to fungus, this is a good place to start. Next question, I need supplement suggestions because I'm afraid of fat. I was about to say supplements for fat. Don't worry about it. We'll just keep going. The funny thing about being afraid of fat is that this is a carryover from a long time ago. There was a mantra in the 1980s which said, fat will make you fat. And so I'm still afraid of fat. Let me say one thing about fat. I am a fat eater. I began looking at my calories several years ago, and I found that if I had to lose weight, if I got my fat intake up to 50% of my diet or more, the fat just melted. It's weird how that works. Fat is crucial for brain function. Fat is crucial for hormonal function. Don't be afraid of fat, but make sure it's good guy fat. What are good guy fats? I'm talking about things like coconut, there's the coconut milk, avocado, that's what this is right here, wonderful monounsaturated fat, grass-fed, hormone-free, antibiotic-free butter, and here's good old olive oil. And of course, don't forget fish oil, huge. Do you know what I made this morning before I came here? I made some mycotoxin-free coffee from our buddy Dave Asprey, Bulletproof, and then I put in it medium-chain triglyceride oil, that's a fat, plus grass-fed butter. Oh yeah. and it tasted fantastic. And the brain comes alive, and everything just works better when you get enough fat in. Don't be afraid of fat. Next question. Oh, I need supplements, suggestions for blood sugar. Okay, I'm going to move some stuff here because I have some suggestions for you. Hey, the very first thing that you should know is that let's get the diet right. I know I keep saying that, but if the diet is sugar, 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 carbs, 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 it is hard for your blood sugar to be maintained. It's hard to make that right. And all of the supplements in the world are swimming upstream if the diet is wrong. So get the diet right first. What are some cool suggestions that some doctors like to recommend? Well, I'll show you a few of them. Here is Gymnema sylvestre. And I think that this might be one of the top winners out there. Gymnema smells weird. You take it. It is literally called Sugar Destroyer. Another two. These two go together. This is Banaba, not banana, but Banaba leaf. This is called berberine. Berberine. Put them both together, and some of the studies have shown that it works better than some of the pharmaceutical drugs that are out there. Obviously, your doctor has to make that call. And here's good old Cinnachrome, cinnamon and chromium. Cinnamon's antifungal, chromium helps regulate blood sugar and makes the insulin work better. These are the things that I think will be a good start for you as you're looking to transition into the natural health world. Hope it helps.
You know, before I started doing this show, Know the Cause, maybe 15, 16 years ago, it wasn't common knowledge that fungus contributed to any problem except maybe a little ringworm and a little toenail fungus and so forth. Today, we're looking seriously at cystic fibrosis and cardiovascular problems and cancer and asthma and Alzheimer's, etc., as though they might be intimately linked with mold, mildew, and fungus. Isn't that fascinating? This is a different kind of a show. Years ago, I was sick, and I got myself better when I got back from Vietnam. I was very sick, and I literally thought I got into a worm inside my body because everything changed. If you follow along this antifungal philosophy, it says, stop feeding it. Fungus is a parasite. It grows in your body. You must stop feeding it. It eats carbohydrates, loves potatoes and pasta and bread and alcohol and sugar, so forth. So you stop feeding it. Oh, by the way, you don't need to buy a book, although I've authored a dozen of them. You can get the information on knowthecause.com. It's free. Just go to Getting Started. That's our Phase 1 diet. And then you must simultaneously kill the fungus. Work with your doctor to that end. Sometimes the doctor will recommend drugs like diflucan and nystatin and Nizoral, or you can get to a health food store. Few people know that vitamin C and vitamin Bs and zinc and so many of the supplements that we take standardly are very, very potent antifungals. Thank you for joining us on this show. Thank you for telling your friends. I hope you understand that you can go to our website and really get educated. There must be over 100 recipes that follow along the Phase 1 philosophy. There are all sorts of blogs, fascinating information. We have a YouTube channel. You can visit that. We have a backside of the website, social media, where I do a lot of communication with a lot of people. We trust you've enjoyed today's show half as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. We'll be here again tomorrow.